forward so that we can make some realistic economic development efforts.
Before we get started, you have a runoff election between Nick Gradisar and Steve Nawrocki, which you'll need about 5% of the total electorate for the election coming up in order to recall them. Because you're going to need to start thinking about recall right now, because neither one of these candidates have the authority of Pueblo City's 1954 charter. The 1954 charter was destroyed and absolutely obliterated with this, initiative. So neither one of these candidates are legal.
My daughter left and didn't come back, and it wasn't because there wasn't jobs. She became a nurse. So there's obviously a lot of opportunities. But you got to want to come back to this community. That's probably the bad rap that people have talked about in terms of we're not that proud, we don't live in a cool community. But I think by rebranding our community, Gateway to the Southwest, and I don't mean taking anything away from Home of Heroes or the pepper capital of the world, but I'm talking about a regional change where we celebrate who we are, our cultural heritage, and what we stand for. We'll never be like north of El Paso County. We don't sit by the mountains, we don't sit in the pines, we don't have skiing, but what we do have is incredible landscape. We have arid climate. You can golf year around here. We can kayak. We got the lake. We have an incredible art community. We have the creative corridor. I was president of city council when the governor acknowledged that we were a new creative corridor in the state of Colorado. The gateway to the Southwest. It all starts in Pueblo, Colorado. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, 1848, the outcome of the Mexican-American War. Everything that was south of the Arkansas River now became part of the United States, which we know today as the Southwest, minus the Gadsden Purchase. We need to celebrate that. You don't have to go to Taos, you don't have to go to Santa Fe, you don't have to go to Sedona. It all starts here in Pueblo, Colorado. And once we recognize that we live in a very cool place, people are going to come back here and people will want to move here. Thank you.
You don't just need better branding, Steve Nawrocki. You need a better city. You need to not just sweep the homeless off to the side and to pretend that there's no crime. You got to make sure there is no crime. You got to make sure there is no homeless. You got to take care of these goddamn problems. Steve Nawrocki's been in there for 8 years. Hey, Steve Nawrocki, how come you haven't done shit about the poor? 1 out of 4 people in Pueblo City are poor. Does either one of these have a war on poverty? Either one of these have a plan to combat poverty? Do either one of these have a plan to fight on behalf of the working families of Pueblo City?
And we need to figure out how can we get some of these young people here. I know there are communities around the country that are actually paying the young people who have skills and have a job where they can work at home. Give them $10,000 to move to Pueblo and bring their job with them. If they can prove they have a job, they can. That's how I think it starts.
To attract tourism by diversifying our community in terms of the economy.
In terms of not just reacting to inquiries that PEDCO gets, but actually going out and knocking on doors.
Inquiries.
What we need to do is perhaps target industries and get more aggressive in terms of not just reacting to inquiries that PEDCO gets, but actually going out and knocking on doors. In terms of not just reacting to inquiries that PEDCO gets, but actually going out and knocking on doors.
Inquiries, economics.
Forward so that we can make some realistic economic development efforts.
Economics, community.
To attract tourism by diversifying our community in terms of the economy.
Community, inquiry.
To attract tourism by diversifying our community in terms of the economy. By diversifying our community in terms of the economy.
Forward so that we can make some realistic economic development efforts.
The economics. What the fuck? Can't y'all speak right? Why don't y'all get the dick out of your goddamn mouths before you start to talk, for shit's sake?
Forward so that we can make some realistic economic development efforts. I think we need to be aggressive, as I said. I think we need to look at supporting entrepreneurs in Pueblo.
Economics. What a bunch of stuck-up fucking snobs up in the ivory tower. They drink with their pinkies out when they're sipping on their caviar and they're driving the yachts on a private island. Fucking bourgeoisie. These bougie-ass motherfuckers are stuck up and snobby with their nose in the air. That's why they're doing the right-wing PEDCO plan, $130 million to try to get Elon Musk and Amazon, Jeff Bezos, give him $1 billion and hope he comes. Oh shit, he took our money and then he left and they took our jobs. That's mostly what happens. Very few jobs are being created. Most of the jobs are being, as soon as they take their damn money, then they just up and leave, because that was how they were maintaining their entire operations. As soon as they didn't get that Petco money, they packed up. So eco-fucking-nomics, yeah, why don't you eat my fucking-nomics, motherfucker. Economics, more like stinkonomics.
Entrepreneurship businesses that we need to continue to pursue and help fund for young people. But I think once we really become solidified as a destination, already people want to come here. People are moving down here. Denver is our greatest market in terms of being able to attract people, but we need to promote this community, and we need to spend money doing that. We have the means to do it in terms of the organizations, but we need to collectively.
We can't stay out of our own way. We get opportunities for things to happen, and, you know, we just start fighting with each other about it. The city's fighting with the...
Jesus Christ, is Gradisar still talking about that goddamn baseball stadium? We're still going to get that fucking baseball stadium, ain't we? That motherfucking baseball stadium's going to keep on coming. How many billions of dollars are we going to spend for that baseball stadium? He's another person who's just going to take their damn money. You sitting there telling me that nobody in Pueblo City, none of those bright people could have developed some kind of hotel or baseball stadium? Jesus Christ. Just go into the damn colleges. They probably, all of them, you know, get a whole class to design a baseball stadium and then go ahead and vote. Pick the winner between some of the engineers and architects of the school system.
County or vice versa, or Pueblo West, or those kind of things. So I think one of the things that's held us back really is we have not had a full-time elected leader in this community.
One good thing about Nick Gradisar, Steve might be in favor. I heard that Steve Nawrocki was into, well, just the marijuana he was pro-marijuana. They're both pro-marijuana. So Nick Gradisar, he talks about a full-time elected leader as if Sam Azad wasn't a full-time elected leader. Sam Azad's getting paid $150,000, $160,000 a year. And that, in fact, the mayor is going to get paid less. So if we're paying somebody $150,000 per year, but that doesn't give us a full-time city manager, and then they're going to keep them on board, that should tell you right then and there that they're going to respect people in power, not the powerless. They don't give a shit about the working class people. They care about the billionaires and the bankers and the 1%. They don't give a shit about the 99%. They don't give a shit about the working class, the families, the average families, and the poor, which is an abundant amount of poor people in Pueblo City, 26.5% poverty and homelessness. These are massive fucking issues that are not seriously being addressed.
That is a way for the future that we need to continue to pursue, to give incentives to young people. It still has to fit the criteria in terms of 51% of the service or the product needs to be exported out of our community. But Solar Rosa is a good example. Active Armor, which is a new company making casts that are being sent all over the country. Formula 44, which is exotic soaps that are being sent all over the country. These are some examples of...
Yeah, Steve Nawrocki, and those are the only examples that Petco has. Solar Rose coffee? Yeah, of course. Government went ahead and subsidized private corporations to go ahead and run roughshod over the rest of us. Why does Solar Rose get the one-up on everybody else? But those are the three companies. Give me more examples of success stories, because there's not many examples. And there's not enough examples that go ahead and justify $130 million wasted over 30 years, $130 million.
Get some of these new industries in here. I'm hoping that the Cannabis Institute at CSUP will be able to attract some scientists and those kind of professionals as that industry takes off and grows in Pueblo. So,
side, you got Nick Gradisar, who's a white male, middle-aged white male Democrat who was part of the president of the Chamber of Commerce, and Nick Gradisar. So Gradisar, that's clearly Eastern, it's Russian, right? So Gradisar's a Russian spy. No, I'm just kidding. Gradisar means he's from Madagascar. Madagascar.
And I think that's why I'm so excited about this change in our form of government, is because that full-time elected leader is going to be responsible for gelling the community and moving the community forward.
And it sounds Slovakian, Polish, Lithuanian, maybe German. It's definitely not Mexican or Spanish or Korean. So you're Gradisar? Okay, I'm glad you are too. So Steve Nawrocki
uses, and they've been very successful with that dollar amount to attract new industry and to attract tourism. By diversifying our community in terms of the economy, I want us to become more of a destination than we already are. In spite of ourselves, we already are a destination. But if we start promoting our Pueblo as being a good place to live, a good place to work, a good place to raise a family, and a good place to visit, that is going to bring people, and they're going to want to come to this community. When people want to come to your community, people are going to come here, and they're going to start businesses.
That's, Nawrocki, that's Russian also. So Nawrocki is also a Russian spy. Nawrocki has the definition, it's, of course, right, everybody knows Nawrocki means one who gnaws on rocks. Nawrocki from the highlands of Scotland, New Zealand, Tanzania, the Tasmanian devil, words, ideas, verbal expressions.
PEDCO, I've been on that board for 7 years. In the last 2 years, they really started putting an emphasis on funding entrepreneurship type businesses. A lot of younger people. We have some very successful businesses that have gotten off the ground.
So on one side you got Mafia Nick, on the other side you got Casa Nostra Steve. You got one right-wing capitalist Democrat versus one right-wing establishment Democrat. So who are you going to vote for? Neither one of these are progressives. Both of these are regressives. They want to do the PEDCO thing, which is a capitalist, a right-wing Republican capitalist plan, but they don't talk about socialism. They don't talk about government spending. They just talk about their own goddamn fucking egos, their own stupid...
to grow their businesses here. The nice thing about that is we don't have to convince them to come here. They're already here. And so I think that can be fantastic. I think one of the things...
So neither one of these have an outright declared war on poverty. Somebody mentioned one time we need to do something about poverty, but really, you can't even do nothing about it. That was Gradisar. Gradisar, you can't do nothing about the poverty. You only got 26.5% poverty there in Pueblo City. And you can't do nothing about the poverty. Why even try? Don't even fucking try. Maybe if you just keep your eyes closed, maybe poverty will just solve itself. Yeah, maybe if we go to Arizona, and California and find those corporations and we pay them $10,000 to bring some people in, maybe that will actually help the poor kids of Pueblo City. What about the homelessness?
Go to California, go to Arizona, those states that are going to have problems with their water systems as the Colorado River runs dry, and target those industries that need a reliable source of water and say to them, come to Pueblo, Colorado. Pueblo has enough water to last us 80, 90, 100 years, and all our associated industries. So
I don't believe which one was for PEDCO and which one was against PEDCO. $130 million. So clearly one of these has got to be a progressive, right? One of these has got to be an Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. One of these men, right-wing, middle-aged, white male, middle-aged, old Democrats.
Come together, and I think the private sector has a responsibility to work with government in that.
And I want... Thank you.
All right. Well, we've heard some discussion so far about the Pueblo Economic Development Corporation, and let's dig deeper into that topic here. I mean, the people of Pueblo have been very generous with the half-cent sales tax and paying that for over 30 years now. In fact, the city of Pueblo has given away about $130 million through that tax incentive to try and create jobs here in the community, and yet we continue to see Pueblo's employment ratings kind of lagging behind some of the other front-range cities. So does there come a time, Mr. Nawrocki, in your mind where there's something that needs to change with either the structure of that tax or with the Pueblo Economic Development Corporation itself and its goals?
Well, you know, the citizens are the ones that decide that. Every 5 years they make that decision. And I do think that it is changing right now. As I had mentioned and alluded to earlier, that now there's more emphasis starting to be on entrepreneurship, getting young people, young business people.
Economics is right. Eek! Eek! These motherfuckers are sitting, they had a choice between saying economics or economics. right? It's like saying pecan or pecan. Pecan or pecan. Do you motherfucking American? Are you motherfucking English? Pecan? You know what? Bougie? Bourgeoisie? You goddamn it's economics. Working people, working class people. Nobody says economics unless you're a stuck-up piece of shit that don't know shit about macroeconomics. You took a macroeconomics class fucking 50 years ago, and now you think you know what is best for our goddamn economy? Jesus Christ, you ain't no Milton Friedman. You're not even a Bernie Sanders. You're not even a Karl Marx. You need Karl Marx and Milton Friedman in a room.
People interested in starting businesses, but we still have that pretty rigid criteria. First of all, you can't give money to businesses that are going to compete with businesses on a local level. That would make sense. If I had a restaurant, you're not going to give money to another restaurant to compete.
The industrial park and the South Industrial Park, Vestas and those companies, if we didn't have that money available to us to help attract those businesses here. Now, we have to change, we have to be moving, but I think I can remember when Pueblo, the economy in Pueblo used to go up or down based on the mill. That's no longer the case because we've been successful in diversifying our economy. We're not there yet. We still have a lot of work to do, and we have to get aggressive about it. But I would not want to see that Petco go away or the half-cent sales tax fund go away, because I think, by and large, they have been successful. Now,
do that by diversifying our economy, continue to try to draw more people to our community. If this city does not grow, and trust me, one of the things I love about this city, it has big city amenities, but has a small town environment. That's what I love about Pueblo. I don't want that to change a lot, but if we don't grow, we're going to die.
People, when it was booming and people were out there buying boats and trailers and motorcycles and those kind of things, when they got money, they spent it in this community. That's what we need to do. Attract industries and businesses that will pay higher wages and
So I guess the point is that everything is really...
Pueblo City, I'm going to go ahead and give you the final answer, okay? Should y'all be communist? Should y'all be capitalist? Should y'all have social spending? Should you just have laissez-faire, you know, Wild West anarchy, you know, whatever goes, who gives a shit kind of capitalism? Well, casino-style capitalism or pure socialism is communism. Which one do you want, one or the other? How about this? Why don't you just split the difference, okay? Have some socialism and have some capitalism. Have some public schools and some sidewalks and public parks, and have some corporations. Have some wealthy people, but also have, you know, post offices.
Hi. I mean, that's shocking. When was the last time that happened in Pueblo, Colorado? Inventories are down. We need more buildings. We need to support the business community. Pueblo needs to be open for business. We need to open our doors. We need to make it easier to do business, and that'll help bring about more revenue. But we need to diversify our community, and I still think gateway to the Southwest, that's the way we're going to be able to have our own character and be able to advertise it, promote it, and want people to come to Pueblo, Colorado.
Foreclosures and releases of deeds of trust. So over that 17 years, and foreclosures and releases are cyclical. They go up and down. There were periods of time that I never got a salary when I was supposed to get a salary as the public trustee. What happened was the Denver Post did a series of stories about the 10 appointed public trustees. They didn't like the system. They wanted to change the system. Governor Hickenlooper asked all 10 appointed public trustees to resign. I was one of them. I did. All of us were eligible to be reappointed as the public trustee. I decided that Governor Hickenlooper was looking for somebody to do that on a full-time basis. The reason that office was in the building where I was at is because I didn't have room in my office, which is where it usually was. And we charged the same amount of rent for better space that they were paying downtown. So it was that kind of a deal that Governor Hickenlooper decided he wanted to have full-time people in that office, and I decided not to reapply as the public trustee.
I would do as mayor in the first 5 years. Trying to attract tourism by diversifying our community in terms of the economy.
I think that's what we need to do as we move forward. We could look at a lot of reasons why we haven't grown, but...
No. Next. Only two? We only get two choices? How come more of you assholes didn't vote for Charlotte Perez?
I think those are some of the ways that we can do that. Just we need to be creative and just not make judgments about we just want manufacturing, we just want these kind of jobs. We've got to reach out to everybody.
Nick Nick Gradisar said some people are just getting a college education. They're not a professional, like a dentist or a doctor or a lawyer. He threw a lawyer in the mix of dentists and doctors. Dentists fix your teeth. Doctors fix your health. Lawyers do not create any GDP. They do not create any product. Their service is one of being a fucking parasite on the goddamn system.
Younger than 35, well, my vision for this community is that we'll have an economy where nobody has to leave Pueblo to earn a living. And for somebody like me, a professional, a doctor, a lawyer, or a dentist, it's easy to go away, go to school, come back to Pueblo, and you can do very, very well. For people that are just getting a college education, it's not so easy, and that's what I think we need to work on. That's what I think we need to work on.
To go ahead and suck you dry. They are bloodsuckers, and they want to create as much conflict and misery because the more that they have to worry about and charge, and the more time they can charge, so they get paid more. Lawyers don't produce shit. A fucking professional. So you're sitting there saying what? That the people who graduate from college aren't professionals like a lawyer? Because lawyers are just so, shit, I'd rather have farmers, I'd rather have janitors, I'd rather have trash collectors around than a fucking lawyer. What good's a lawyer ever going to do you?
Revenue, we need people to buy more things in the city of Pueblo. And on that note, Pueblo has a higher rate of poverty than a lot of other cities in the state. And I think those things go hand in hand, that if people have more money to spend, they will spend it. So how do you plan to get people to spend more money when they don't have it to spend?
Well, get them more money. Get them more money. Get better paying jobs, bring more industries in here so that people are being paid better. I mean, that's what I think you do, is you have higher wages for people that are working so that they're able to put more money in their pocket.
If you remember, Andy, that since I was on city council, our budget from the city had been cut by over $100,000. So I don't think I had a lot of influence in terms of that money coming to our agency. I'll just make that real clear again.
And, it's obviously not just a Pueblo problem. Pueblo is a big problem, but it's a nationwide problem where you have this income inequality. Things are out of balance. They're not in balance. You've got one group of people with a lot more money than anybody else. And the problem with giving tax breaks to this group of people up here is that they have everything they want. If you give money and tax breaks to these people here, whoops.
Good thing it wasn't steel.
Okay. So if you target your economic activities, you put it in the hands of people that'll spend it. They're going to spend that money here. When it's like when the mill.
The 2019 city budget is expected to have a deficit of about $6 million. So how do you intend to balance the budget, grow revenue, and still make sure the city delivers critical services? We will start with you, Mr. Nawrocki.
Well, first of all, you did say 2019 budget, right? It's a balanced budget, but we're using on-fund balance money to balance the budget. So it is a balanced budget. Don't anyone think it's not balanced. But we're not touching the 10% reserves that are designated through resolution that City Council made a number of years ago. Those reserves were able to grow to 11, 12%. Some of that money is going in to balance it.
There have been some failures, and our emphasis maybe needs to change a little bit. And as I say, I think we need to get more aggressive and be more proactive rather than reactive in terms of seeking out opportunities. But we need to take advantage of those opportunities that are presented to us.
Okay. Relationships with the people in Denver, the delegation in Washington, D.C. We got the Dillon Bridge on the north side of town. That took 15 years for us to get that, but finally we got Tiger money. We worked with our delegation in Washington, D.C. Pueblo will continue to grow north. Cities, we learned that when we were in school. Cities grow towards each other. Look at the corridor on the East Coast, the West Coast. We are going to grow towards Colorado Springs whether they like it or not, and we're going to be competing with them, and we offer a much better quality of life than Colorado Springs. So I really, truly do think that we still need to invest in economic development, but we need to fine-tune it, and we need to make it more current and adapt it to what the situation is now.
Okay.
I think part of it is that attitude. We need to change that attitude, and we're going to do that by putting a full-time elected leader in charge. Thank you.
So there is something to be said for that criteria. But I do think Petco is making that change. We have some new leadership. We have new younger board members coming in. And I do think that the future still is that we need to make that commitment. It is very difficult to compete with the Denver metro area. I mean, come on now. We have one of the largest international airports in the United States there.
Mr. Nawrocki, glad to see that you weren't injured there.
No, thank you. I'm glad it wasn't steel.
We're going to move on now. We are running low on time, so we're going to move on to some direct questions. This is for individual candidates here, but we're going to begin with Mr. Nawrocki. You and I had a conversation a few years ago about CSAC, the Citizens or the Community Service Advisory Commission, and essentially this is a function of city and county government where taxpayer money supports local nonprofits in the community. However, you as the director of a nonprofit, your nonprofit was receiving the largest share of that money, even while you were on the city council. Now, you told me at the time you weren't a part of the vote on that, but I want you to see if there's something you'd like to tell the people of Pueblo about that arrangement who might have some questions about your independence as mayor.
Well, I think as mayor, I would support funding nonprofits through CSAC 100%. And by the way,
To find a job or to earn a living.
and so we need to figure out a way to increase that revenue. Created in the community. An example also will be the Superfund impact of the Bessemer area. $50 to $70 million of EPA money is going to be going into that neighborhood. We need to make sure that we leverage that to do as much as we can to improve the conditions in the Bessemer area. I think that the barriers on the east side and the west side, those are things that we can measure. We need the isolation that we find on the west side because it's cut off by the railroad tracks. There's talk of a road coming from Pueblo Boulevard to downtown, right through the west side. Can you imagine what that would be able to do in terms of create commercial activity and bring more jobs to the west side of Pueblo? The east side, we need to continue to work on the corridor that connects downtown to the eastern part of the county. That is in its works. Councilman Atencio has been working on that for years. That is something that needs to continue.
Thank you. Mr. Gradisar.
Well, at the end of my term, the change in government to a strong mayor system will be fully implemented. There'll be a buzz in the community that things are changing, that we're finally moving in the right direction. There'll be increased economic activity measured by an increase in jobs, increase in sales tax, and housing starts. The street repair utility enterprise will finally be functional, and we'll finally see the results in the form of new and repaired streets at the end of my first term.
Your specific benchmarks for evaluating success as mayor?
Well, first of all, there's a need for a strategic plan, and I had alluded earlier that there would be 4 different advisory boards. That's above and beyond the advisory board that we're going to be using for, and we are using for, the off-ramp for determine whether we municipalize our utility. Those advisory boards will be responsible for developing a brand new strategic plan.
Forward so that we can make some realistic economic development efforts. I think we need to be aggressive, as I said. I think we need to look at supporting entrepreneurs in Pueblo. So I would tell them, if you can't find something and you want to stay in Pueblo, start something. You know, let's start something up, and let's see if we can't. You come up with an idea that you think will work in this community, and I, as the mayor, would certainly do my best to get the community behind those efforts, because I think that's important, is to increase that economic activity in this community if we're going to be successful for everybody.
Dependent on economic stability in Pueblo.
And
right.
economic activity,
Right.
increasing that economic activity, yes.
Did you want to add anything, Mr.
Well, absolutely. You know, this goes back again to Pueblo being a destination. We need to diversify our economy, get people off that freeway. Millions of people go up and down our freeway every year. How many do we get? Tourism is a $13 billion industry in the state of Colorado. Why doesn't Pueblo, Colorado get their share?
So that's it in a nutshell. He asked all 10 appointed public trustees to resign. I did. I didn't reapply for reappointment. So.
And I kind of resent that, because I abstained from every vote there was on those nonprofits. But I do think we have a responsibility to continue funding the city and the county, and I would support that 100%.
Mr. Gradisar, the president of the city council publicly raised concerns about a possible conflict of interest when you were a public trustee. While there have been no formal allegations of wrongdoing, how will you reassure Puebloans that you will avoid conflicts of interest if you were elected mayor?
Well, I won't lease any space in my building to the city of Pueblo if they have to pay twice as much to get half as much space somewhere else. That's what I'll say about that.
Well, Mr. Gradisar, I want to give you a chance to respond as well. I mean, is the half-cent fund and is Petco meeting the needs of the community still, in your opinion? And, I mean, what needs to change in order to attract more people and business to town?
Well, I think we need to get more aggressive with respect to Petco. I think the half-cent sales tax fund still is needed. I don't want to imagine what this community would be like if we didn't have that organization there and we didn't have those companies here.
That again shows you the importance of a structural deficit that the city of Pueblo has. We need to have more revenue in order to balance that budget. We will have to go back, if this continues into 2020, we'll have to go back looking at staff. Where else do you save money in a budget as a city when 2/3 of the personnel costs are what eat up the budget? And so I would hate to think that we're going to have to go backwards. That's why we need to really be able to, whoever the mayor is, to hit the ground running and be able to already understand the budget process. I was president of city council 5 different times during that time when we did balance the budget through attrition. Did services suffer? Absolutely. Who provides the services to you? People. And so unfortunately, we've had to balance the budget on the back. We need to continue figuring out a way to increase the revenues, and we're going to
As well. So let's talk about the brain drain real quickly. A 2015 CSU Pueblo study found that the city's reliance on heavy manufacturing has created a brain drain by forcing those with advanced degrees to seek jobs in other parts of the state and across the country. How would you make Pueblo more competitive in Colorado for those highly skilled and educated workers? And Mr. Gradisar, I'll start with you.
Well, I think one of the ways is that, by increasing the economic activity, getting a diversity of businesses here, so it's not just manufacturing. Manufacturing is important to Pueblo. I think we'll always have manufacturing in Pueblo, but over the last 30 years, we've been pretty successful in diversifying our economy. We haven't done enough yet. Thank you, Mr. Gradisar. Yeah, I think we need to increase the economic activity, as I said in my opening remarks, in Pueblo if we're going to be successful. But to realize that vision, we've got to increase the economic activity in the city of Pueblo, and we need to aggressively recruit new jobs. I'd also like to see during that period of time a robust summer employment program for the young people in our community.
I do think there are obvious benchmarks. A strategic plan would outline and be much more specific in terms of being able to measure, but I do think sales tax, number of jobs, the success with the EPA in terms of the $50–70 million coming into our community, and also I think housing starts and population growth. Those are other ways that we can measure the success. This is obviously a historic election. I certainly appreciate your being here tonight, your attention. I've been doing these forums since April. I think it was the first one we did at Rawlings Library, and I'm glad to see the community engaged because this is important for our future, because for the first time, and a robust internship program for college students working for the city of Pueblo. That's one of the ways we can attract some high caliber, high talent people to work for the city government is by those internships. And what I say to people is that if you're happy with the way things are going in Pueblo, you've got the immediate past president of the city council who served 8 years on the city council as a candidate in this election. I offer a different choice.
Thank you. Mr. Nawrocki, how would you make Pueblo more competitive?
Well, I think first of all we need to diversify our community. And one of the things that I feel very strongly about is that we need to promote our community. I'm committed to raising $1 million a year, and I use that term because that is the amount of money that Grand Junction. The strategic plan obviously will have benchmarks, and that goal would be done in the first year of being a mayor of our city. I think that we do have a strategic plan. It hasn't been updated for years, but I think we need to start over with a new one. The other thing is just take a look at how you do measure when the city does grow and how the economy improves. You look at sales tax collection. You look at the number of jobs that are.
You know, that situation, I was a public trustee in Pueblo County for 17 years, appointed by 4 different governors to serve as the public trustee. One of the things you need to know is that no taxpayer money is used to operate the public trustee's office. All the money that's used to operate the public trustee's office is generated by more flexible. In the private sector, you know, we do that. In the public sector, sometimes it's, well, why should we do this today? Let's wait until tomorrow kind of attitude. And I think we need to really emphasize to the people that are providing services that we need to work hard, and the citizens of this community expect that, and I'm committed to making sure that the city staff has that mentality and that we'll have that customer service model as we move forward in the community.
I want to ask a follow-up question for both of you there, because you both talk about growing revenue, and I know that there's been a lot of talk about sales tax, and in order to grow revenue.
Thank you. We want to switch gears here a little bit, talk about public safety, talk about public health issues as well. And so, Mr. Gradisar, I'm going to begin with you, but let's talk about the police department. We had a question submitted by Crystal Leduc. This is someone I had the opportunity to interview recently, but she raises the issue.
Of the Pueblo economy, I haven't been in the public sector for most of my career. My vision for this community, as I indicated, is that we'll have an economy here where every young person who wants to stay in Pueblo is able to earn a living and find a good job to support them and their families. That's my goal, and that's my vision. Nobody should have to leave Pueblo in order.
I'll tell you what happened. When Walmart built a store out in Pueblo West, the city of Pueblo lost $1 million a year of revenue in sales tax. We've had a lot of leakage. People shop in Colorado Springs. Now they're shopping out in Pueblo West. This city needs to grow. We need to grow towards Colorado Springs. We need to have more houses being built. We need to support our builders. We need to support developers. We need to try to attract people here. It is so expensive now. You know how expensive it is to live in Denver. That's why people are actually coming to Pueblo. That's why right now the housing market, it's hard to find a house to buy.
We'll move on to one last question, and we will begin with Steve Nawrocki. Our closing question for both candidates comes from Carla Hendrickson. At the end of your first term in 2023, what would be...
In our lifetimes, we're electing that full-time leader. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Nawrocki, Mr. Gradisar, and thank you to Pueblo Community College for hosting this. I want to thank John Rodriguez, who did a lot of the behind-the-scenes work. Thanks to our panelists. If you'd like to see the candidates' answers compared on a couple of issues side by side, go to vote411.org starting tomorrow. From all of us here tonight, we would like to encourage you to vote. Turn in those ballots before January 22nd. The future of Pueblo depends on the involvement of its people, so go vote and be that difference.
Might be able to get a tax on internet sales. You know, now those of you who shop online might not like that, because that might make the price of things go up a little bit. But if we could do that and figure out a way to do that, tax internet sales, that would result in additional revenue to the city of Pueblo that we could use to provide these services and fund these programs that are there. In many respects, I think the city's got to get more lean and more mean. I mean, we have to be more. One of the ways you handle the budget is the budget is a number, and you balance the budget by not filling vacancies, and that's what the city's done for a number of years. They've funded positions in the budget, but they've never filled those positions, so they're not paying the money out. So it's sort of a shell game in that fashion is how they've done a lot of that. So we have to increase the revenues. You know, I think we need to look at additional sources of revenues. Maybe we need to look at, and the United States Supreme Court just basically recently said that, you know, states and local governments.
The Front Range, all of the power has been in the Denver area. All the decisions in terms of infrastructure. How long did it take Pueblo, Colorado to get 1 mile of interstate updated? We are the last section of the interstate in the state of Colorado to be straightened out and to be improved. That means that we need to have a mayor who has the...
I've never been on the city council. As I indicated to you, I've been on the Board of Waterworks. On the Board of Waterworks, we have had a strategic plan. You have to have in the water industry a strategic plan if you're going to be successful. And as a result of the work that the Board of Waterworks has done, the City of Pueblo has the best municipal water supply of any city in the state of Colorado. And we're able to do that at the lowest possible price. So, as I indicated earlier, I've been in the private sector, and I've lived through, and my clients have lived through the ups and downs